Hi, welcome from Kiev. This is really very beautiful church here in the center of the old town. I really like it a lot, and I would like to show you also this part of Kiev, which is the old town. This is basically the hill, and this is now the northern side of the hill. It's some kind of descent, and it's very beautiful. Now renovated. It's a winter day, so it's a bit, you have to be careful not to slip. But you see that this is amazingly beautiful cultural heritage of European style, and it's very beautifully renovated, and it's somehow a kind of architectural jewel I think every European should see in his life, because it's a typical Byzantinian Eastern Orthodox beauty. Probably the most beautiful city in Europe, in Eastern Europe, in my view, but maybe there's competition. Central Europe, we have a lot of them. But here, of course, a lot was destroyed from the Mongols to the Soviets. And it is, of course, the neglect of the Soviet Union. Because never forget, the Soviet Union did not leave anything good. It was an evil empire. And I know now Ukraine relatively well, less the east. I've only been to Zaporozhye, but I know most of Ukraine in the west and in the south. And it's most of that, what is worth seeing, was either left by the Russian Empire or by the Austrian-Hungarian times. And the rest, what the Soviet Union in her 70 years of tragic existence has produced in terms of infrastructure, in energy sector, yes, some nuclear power stations, some railway stations, but it's really minimal, and most of it is in disastrous kind of decay and was never of good quality, and nothing good was left by the Soviet Union, nothing of worth mention, and most of it needs to be somehow, it's a big environmental damage which needs to be then taken care of. And it will be huge cost for the European taxpayers in the case of Ukraine to clean up the whole mess left by the Soviet Union. And imagine one day when Russia opens up, how expensive that will be, because ultimately they will all knock then on our doors and ask for support. And after cleaning up the mess of the Warsaw Pact and of the Soviet client states, in the last 30 years the task is now to clean up the whole of Ukraine and to remove the damage the Soviet Union has left, because all these things, never forget, they are from the, here in Kiev obviously, that was one of the main cities of the Russian Empire until the disaster of the so-called communist revolution, but it was in reality a bloody takeover by an absolute extremist group led by Lenin, and they have destroyed the achievements of the Russian Empire in the name of some brutal equality which they imposed by utter brutality. And obviously that will be all have to be cleaned up. The environmental damage is huge, and to bring everything up to European standards, it's of course a huge task, there is no doubt. But okay, that's the task of the European Union, that's why we have it. And that's why we love it, yeah? And that is what is needed. That's the road down to another part of the old town. That's also very beautiful, but I don't want to go there now. I want to go back to the city and to the Austrian embassy to complain about Austrian policy. That's my task here. But I want to say just about the Soviet Union, nothing was left of substance or value. You have to imagine governance of 70 years, yeah? And they have basically done nothing which is meaningful. Of course, nuclear power stations, yes, and they have done some hydropower stations in the time of the collectivization, and some ammunition factories, yes, okay. That's ammunition and energy. The infrastructure, physical infrastructure, in terms of canalization, in terms of what you call railways, highways, there's minimal left over. Yeah, they have a good railway systems, but they had that from the Tsarist times. Maybe some renovation has gone into it, and in the last 30 years also something has been done. But the overall picture of what the Soviet Union has left meaningful, you will not find a single reasonable building, and you have a lot of this whatever Stalinesque disaster buildings. Yes, in the center I will show you when I go along the Gescheitig. But the real meaningful parts of Kiev and most of the good parts which also are meaningful for the future, they come from the Tsarist times. Not that it was particularly good, or from the Austrian-Hungarian times, but there's a huge development task in terms of cleaning up, in terms of upgrading the infrastructure, and that will be the task of the next 30 years under European regulatory systems integrated in the European frameworks and in the European Union, similar like Poland. But the task is bigger. But now we have more experience, we know how it is, and it will be very successful. Ukraine, similar size like Poland, will be a major positive integration potential for the European Union, and it will be very successful. And together we will be very successful, Ukraine and the European Union together. Now I'm getting a bit out of breath. I need to get better in shape for podcasting and I'm getting cold again. So I will go for lunch and I will keep you posted on the second part of my podcasting tour 2022 for European Ukraine. But come here yourself, it's worth, and contribute by your tourism spending to European Ukraine. That's very helpful. Thanks a lot. Best regards. Bye.